thing. All right, so we did talk about a month ago about the business owners in your district. They were really concerned about their future then. A month has gone by. I imagine it hasn't improved, but I want to know how they're doing now.
Well, I think it's an incredibly challenging time for business, particularly small business. In my community, which goes from the Bronx border along McLean Avenue in Yonkers all the way through Bedford and the whole Sound Shore and Eastchester, three cities, Yonkers, New Shell, and White Plains, that I share with the majority leader. So the small business community is just, I said one day it almost died, and it's quite heartbreaking. One of the more challenging things is the federal bill, the CARES Act, that Congress passed, and we're very appreciative, had this proposal, this money in it that was supposed to go to small business. And it did not go out the door in the right way, in my opinion. There were a lot of things that were not right about it. They are adopting more money put into it. Hopefully today that gets finalized. But I talked to so many people and businesses who tried to apply. They couldn't get the bank to take their application, or their application was not submitted. And by the time it was submitted, all the money was gone. So I'm very disappointed about that, but I'm committed to fighting for these small businesses. They are truly the backbone of all of our communities and the things that we love about Westchester. You go to Eastchester or Bronxville or Tuckahoe or uh, Armonk, all these communities. Of course, I live in Yonkers. It's full of small business. We need to have them survive this period. And if they got this PPP money, they could make payroll, they could pay their rent, they could pay their insurance, they could have some money to tide over while they abruptly lost all their income. So I'm happy there's more money in the pot. I'm going to continue to fight to make sure it goes to those in need and not to the big publicly traded companies. I do not think they should be eligible. I think it should go to the small and struggling businesses in all of our communities, and certainly in mine.
So, Senator, I want to drill down on that just a little bit because, of course, that money ran out very quickly. This new legislation that just passed has some more money in it. And, of course, this is a federal program, but we hear that this new program deals with some local banks. That may be something that you have a little more control over, a little more power to talk to. It's supposed to include some community banks and those types of things. Have you been talking to those banks about trying to get this money out to some of these smaller companies who simply were passed over that first round?
Well, what I've been doing is speaking to our members of Congress and their staff and our senators' staff to make sure they understand the real implications. I told them the story of somebody who went from bank to bank, a small restaurant in Rochester that I spoke to in a group setting. I explained what you should do. He went to his bank. He went to three different branches. No one had the application. The application was online. He's, may not be savvy enough to do that. By the time he did it, there was no money left. So there needs to be sort of a second path, which Congress put into the second bill, and I'm very pleased about that, with smaller community-based lenders that certainly provides money for women and minority businesses, so they shouldn't get shut out of the process. But it should not just be these big banks, which people feel, and I don't know if it's correct, that they're favoring their big customers. And so our job is put that aside. Let the money go to the small businesses in greatest need. It shouldn't be a favoritism system. It should be first in, should get it, and they should be rewarded, so to speak, with this money in order to simply survive. We want them up and running when the economy comes back.
Well, let's talk about something that the state does have a little more control over, and that is that we have gotten a ton of complaints from people still trying to file for unemployment. On April 9th, the system changed so that people would get this call back from a specialist that was supposed to be 72 hours. We've had people say they've been waiting a week or two. What is the holdup, and when will that problem be fixed?
Well, there's actually two kinds of unemployment insurance, and I think it's important to distinguish. I believe you're talking about traditional unemployment that New York offered, although some things have changed. The waiting period has been waived. You're going to get that extra $600 as a result of the federal. That is for people who are employees. They have a W-2. It's easy to get into the system. Frankly, the Department of Labor, in ramping this up, given the volume, was just not prepared quickly enough, and it took them a while to get it in shape. It's better. It's not fixed. I talked to the commissioner last week. I expressed to her my concern about that. I'm hopeful that for traditional unemployment, we are doing better. I would say that I gave a list of over 70 individuals yesterday to the governor's office that I've been trying to help for the last few weeks who are waiting for that call back. But the other portion, Scott, is this pandemic unemployment assistance program that was created in the last federal stimulus. That is for people who are self-employed, gig economy, musicians, artists, people that work in the theater industry. Certainly, we have a lot of them in Westchester, people who have their own business. Those people were to be given unemployment insurance under this new system. Unfortunately, the federal government, and I don't mean Congress, I mean the president's administration, was slow to issue guidance until April 5th. It required the state to actually have a contract in order to do this. So people are so frustrated. They filed, waiting. They don't understand the delay. I'm hopeful that quite shortly this problem will be addressed operationally and the money will go out the door. I spoke to a guy tonight about it. I've expressed to the governor's office and Commissioner of Labor my great frustration. They understand. I'm hopeful that we are turning the corner into a faster system. Frankly, yes, there was huge volume, greater than anyone expected, but also the system did not work well enough, and they did not change the operations to meet the need quickly enough. I'm hopeful we're past that and things will improve.
Well, we continue to hear that they're working on a system that may be like 4 decades old. I mean, that's ridiculous. Is this going to be part of this new budget? Of course, we'll get into the budget here in a minute, but you know, this is obviously something that needs to be updated if we're still working with a system that's that old.
Oh, I totally agree, Scott. You know, we have systems in state government that need to be changed and to come along. We don't have direct deposit in agencies. We don't have the ability to forward checks by email. We still have to go and fax something. You know, frankly, fax, in my opinion, is of the last century. So we absolutely need to upgrade the technology of the state. This was a lesson learned that over time, you have to invest in the infrastructure of government because we need government right now to help us through this time, and our systems need to be good. Now, I will say they are working very hard. They brought 1,000 people to the Department of Labor. They are investing in it, and I'm hopeful we've turned the corner.
I'm sure a lot of people are joining you in that hope as well. Now, let's kind of switch gears just a little bit.
Can I just say, Scott, I just want to add something. You know, you got to take seriously that someone is 4 weeks without any money. That's not something, yes, they are going to get the money back to their date of application. But in the interim, like you said, they're waiting without any income and they're feeding their kids. They're paying their rent if they have to do that. They maybe have to put gas in their car to go to the grocery store. So this is a real serious issue. We've had people crying on the phone to us. And I've told my staff, we're going to do the very best we can. We've made it our business to try to call back every one of these people to do everything we can within our power to push their application along.
I imagine it is just a real struggle to get this done, but it, you know, the need is great because the problem is great at this point. I tell you what, State Senator Mayor, let us take a quick break right now, but we'll come back with more questions for the senator. We'll be right back.